I don't know whether everyone has heard about this story of this lady called Ressa Tessa, and she was talking about how she ended up marrying a horrible, manipulative, lying man. Yes, she divorced him, but it doesn't change the fact that she was hurting, and she decided to bring her story and share with everyone. And oh boy, didn't this story blow. She's a TikToker and she made a 52 part series just narrating what happened to her, from how she met this guy to how she divorced him. And I know some of us in this channel might not be really people who love to be on TikTok, but this blew. Like, it's everywhere. TikTok, Google, she's in every show, and this story is the topic going on. But I thought, how about I share this story with my girlies? So girls, we're going to talk about this because the things we need to see in the story that we're not going to repeat, because with her own words, she said she was desperate for love. And when you're desperate for love, this man will make you drown.
Man will leave you in the desert without water.
And she said that the reason she shared this story, it's a big part of her life. She wanted just to talk to women who are maybe in the same situation, or girls who are going to make the same mistake. And I am really grateful to her for this story. I didn't want to watch it because it was 50 part, like it's like 8 hours kind of. It's a very, very long story she told, but I'm just going to cut into, different, short storylines so that we can get the picture. So if it's your first time here, you are most welcome to this channel. Please just don't watch and scroll, subscribe, like, and I would really appreciate that. And to my returning subscribers, those people who are hinged and here always with me, thank you. I celebrate you. I thank you guys so much. So let's get into the story. This lady is called Ressa Tessa, and she named this man, nicknamed him Legion, meaning that it's a legion of spirits. I mean, like legion of lies. And she said when she met him, on that journey of being with him, she saw all the red flags, but she was colorblind, and she called these red flags the United Nations of red flags. But like some of us see red flags and ignore, we're gonna dive into the story and also notice those red flags that she didn't pay attention to. So her story goes like,
who the fuck did I marry?
So many red flags that, I mean, you would have thought I was colorblind because I ignored all of them.
I knew better. My mom has always taught me, do not ever put yourself in a position where you are financially dependent on a man. I snapped.
So Ressa said she met this guy around March of 2020 on social media, dating apps, and that was on Hinge and Facebook. So they kind of matched, and he had two different names. For him, he knew that she didn't know that because he used a nickname and his other full name. And yeah, for some reason, she was like, oh God, maybe because we kind of matched. I mean, maybe this is God. And they connected and talked. So they had their first call. And their first call went really, well, because he opened up. She said that she had never met a guy who talks more than she talks. And this guy was blabbing. He was like all out. And he opened up to her, told her about family, like how he has two brothers, two sisters, and he moved from California to Georgia, and that he was a divorced man. He divorced his wife because his wife cheated on him, but he was close to his stepkids. He went on and on, told us so many things, and that made her feel, a little bit released and like, okay, this guy is cool. And then he asked her out on a date. And she was like, yes. So they decided that they would meet at this place called Cheesecake Factory. So they planned that on that day. She was driving there. She got a tire burst. Her tire popped. And then she was like, what am I going to do? Let me just call this guy and tell her that I think we can't have this date. So she calls him and he's like, no. Let me come. Him being the man, let me come in and see what I can do for you. So she kind of drove slowly to a nearby gas station. And this guy came around, and oh boy, she said she looked up, and this guy was a tall 6'4", long, beautiful, tall chocolate man. And she was like, hold up, this man is amazing. And not only that, he looks exactly like the picture that he had actually put on his dating platforms. And that was amazing, because most of these guys really don't put the correct pictures. So yeah, the guy fixed the tire, and also he actually told her, like, no, what, you can't drive on this small donut of a tire. Let me buy you another tire. And that made her feel so good. Just him fixing and buying, those are all green flags. Who does that? Whereas another woman, now after listening to this, were like, girl, be independent. Don't let him sweep you off the feet the first time. But yes, that's what happened to her. So they decided to continue to, have their date. They went to the cheese factory, and there was kind of lines. So they sat out and had conversation. That's when again he opened up to her and told her that, you know what, girl, I want to settle in. I want to just get married and have kids. How about you? She was like, yeah, that's what I want too. That's what I want. And they talked about so many things till midnight. That means there was already a connection here. She felt they were compatible. Everything was just flowing and was amazing. And he even played her a song. And in that song, there was by John Legend, something like, will you marry me? It just felt good. Let me tell you, the devil is sneaky. When he's coming, you never see what is happening, but he's literally wrapping you up together. So fast forward, it was announced that there was going to be a lockdown because of COVID, and apparently he had moved from California to Georgia because he was given a new job as a regional manager in a company, and he was staying at a studio apartment, and the company was looking for him a house that he would move into. And whereas for her, she had like a 3-bedroom kind of big house, and she didn't want to be quarantined a lot. So they just had a conversation of what to do. Definitely a woman maybe would even not mind if a man was like, no, let's stay in my apartment. Yeah, it's small, but it's mine, because men just have ego. They love being men. But this man, like, that's why she said that she had taken him to his place. So he knew what he was working with. Even that maybe because she had a place, and a very beautiful place, he might even have said, let me pursue this because it's giving stable, it's giving, she knows what she's doing. So they decided that they go and live at her place. So they went and lived quarantined at her home. And after that, they continued living, and that's when the question of getting a house together came about. And yes, they got a house. I'm going to be brief. I'm going to try to make this short. They got a house, and then, he told her that he had deposited money, and they were getting the house. They ended up buying house appliances, furniture, but it didn't happen because he told her a different story that, they're not getting a house. And for some reason, she was wondering why. I didn't know about this. So she let it go. And as time went on, she fell pregnant, and now she didn't know what to do. But even at the beginning, there's so many, times this woman said that it's like God was telling her that there's something wrong. But she told herself, it was just one mistake. Yeah, it didn't fill me in the things concerning the house, but it's just one mistake. I can't judge him on that. So she conceives. After conceiving, he proposed to her, but then they lost the baby. She got some cramps and bleeding in. The baby was checked. Baby didn't have a heartbeat, so she had to do surgery. So she calls him and tells him, what, I need to go for surgery, thinking that, he's going to take her. My husband, my fiancé. But then he said he was promoted to VP and he couldn't do that. So she had to call her friend who took her to hospital. So after the surgery, a call was made to him to tell him that come pick your wife, the surgery is done. And this guy decided to change his voice and talk like the assistant, because now he had to keep up with the fact that he was the VP. She said even sometimes he would call her at home and pretend to reprimand people, like shout at employees, why are you doing this? Just to, build up on that foundation of him being, a VP. But it was all a lie. So now he says that the assistant who picked up, who was him, said to the medic that he was in for a meeting. This lady was supposed to have left the hospital in just 1 hour. She had to wait for 3 hours. And so he came, took her home, and called her parents and told, when she needed her people, he called the parents and said that, they don't need to come, she'll be fine. That was legion for you. So as it continued, they still wanted to get a house because now, we need to grow, definitely. So they got married. When they got married, they didn't have people. It was just the two of them. Yes, it was COVID, but I'm asking myself, girl, what was the hurry about? Like, did you really have to marry this guy? Already you're feeling like, there's something wrong. But she said she was of age, she was desperate, she was confused. She's so good, but so bad. And she kept on telling herself, maybe you're just not used to being loved by a guy. But, she just kept on, compromising a lot as time went. They get married, they didn't have premarital counseling, and she said she was Christian, she knew what she wanted, but she kind of like just went about doing things even when the Holy Spirit was telling her no. So now I'm just gonna start telling you guys the lies. So they started looking for another house. It didn't happen because when he was asked for funds, he didn't show his funds because he didn't have the funds. And then she didn't meet his family, so he would make calls pretending to talk to family and pretend like he's connecting have with the family. Let's say, oh, hi, how are you guys? We're fine. Oh, yeah, we're okay. Tessa is fine. Tessa, my brother says hi. When she said put it on loudspeaker, he won't do that. When she tried to talk to his people, nobody. But this man, after she married him, she got the social security number and was trying to do a background check on this guy because it was becoming too much. He lied about the house, he lied about buying her cars, and he would show paperwork, he forged emails. This guy was good at what he was doing, and she was getting confused because she didn't know what was true and what was not true. So apparently this guy, everything that he said was a lie. The calls, the story about him leaving his ex-wife was a lie because it's his ex-wife who divorced him. And that was just not the only woman he had. He actually had another first wife. He had the first and then the second and then her. And then he lied that the stepdaughter had passed on and they needed some money to help with the burial and all that. She was like, okay. In her heart, she would be like, no one can lie about this. But this guy lied because after she got in contact with that woman, she was like, no, my daughter is still alive. And I'm not the only woman who he's married to. And this guy, I think he was sick, so she was able, because she says he talked a lot. He was always in her ear. She couldn't function. So this time when he was sick, she was able to access his phone and then opened, and she got messages of him talking to prostitutes about blowjobs, about handwork. So she was like, guys, I'm sorry about that man. So she was like, she couldn't keep up. So he was talking to these prostitutes to do stuff on him. And then as she continues, he took her to a grave and showed her a graveyard that it was his grandmother. That ain't his grandmother. That was some other woman, I don't even know, who had passed on. And yes, it had his last name. That means he had done really good research. So this man lied about everything. And at a certain point, I think she was really getting tired. Her mother dropped in, and they had actually planned to pretend like nothing had happened, but it was too much for her because she had found out that he was talking to 7 women on FB, and that tells you like habits just don't die easy. They just don't die easy. I was talking to some ladies on FB, and one particular lady stood out because they were showing pictures of their private titty. You know what I'm saying? They were like showing those things and talking nasty and just telling her what he would do to her. And remember, Tessa is not getting it. He's not getting the thing. They're not, intimate, literally. And she's like, yo, why would you tell this woman these things? But when I ask you to do that, you say that, oh no, baby, you're holy. I can't do this to you. But whereas you can do this with other women. So it was just too much lies. But the thing about lies, they drain you. You don't know direction. You don't know what next. She then had a chance to talk to this guy's relatives. They're like, this guy's been like this. He's been always a liar. And he was pretending to live his brother's life. Because it was his brother who was the VP to a company. It was his brother who was the one with the house, with the car. So he was pretending to live someone's life. And she said this man could quote scripture like nothing because his father was a pastor. But he was not everything that glitters is gold. She said he paid the bills, but he was sleeping with other women. He was cheating. So emotionally, she was drowning. Because you're paying the bills, because you're there, because you're showing up at certain points doesn't mean that the fact that you didn't show up when I lost my baby is not going to kill me. So they went for counseling and he was gaslighting her. He was manipulative. He was just not accepting anything. He was defensive, and whereas she still thought she could save the relationship. That's how hanged in she was. But then she said because she was Christian, she realized when she saw certain messages of him just exchanging certain, like relationships with other women, she knew that, God, you can let me go now. Because as Christians, sometimes you're scared of breaking up. There are rules. If you have divorce, there's something this person has to do. And yes, he did something. And she knew that that's what she was going to use to just step back. So they were literally married for only 2 years, but she said all those 2 years were just hell for her. She put days, she put details, everything. I couldn't really follow that up. But I want to tell you girls, life is not easy, and there's so many legions, like this woman said. There's so many men who are legions out there, and they come smooth. They know what to say. Like she said that he always said what she wanted to hear. And some men can read you. They can tell when you're desperate, and some men, when you open up to them, they will see what you need most and then provide that while manipulating you. And your time is going. She said she wasted her time on this guy. So I don't know if this story resonates with you. You go and watch it, because in the next part, I'm going to do a part 2. I'm going to just talk about the red flags in details. And like so many people have come up and said, oh girl, you were dumb. And she was so accountable. The thing that makes this story a beautiful story is that she was accountable. She said, I was down. I saw these red flags, but I just let go. I was desperate. And the thing about being desperate for love, you make all the wrong decisions because you are in need of someone. You want someone to, kind of fill a void. That cannot happen like that. It's not just easy. So she calls him a pathological liar. The liar of all lies. And for real, I don't know whether I brought this story well, but if you listen, she is so detailed. She is a storyteller, and she's everywhere right now. Her story might be published or even a movie. People are asking for a movie because this is just a little bit of what her story is. But if you listen to the story, you see that she chose to ignore the red flags, but at last it hurt her, And she said that the thing that hurts her most about this is the fact that she realized, yes, they're liars, but a liar that knows even you're in pain and couldn't literally bend and be like, okay, let me just, maybe just help this woman and pick her from hospital. she just lost our baby. She's like, that hurt her, because now then it made her realize that he can do more than this. He can actually even kill me, because if he didn't care about the fact that I was literally at, you know, the age of death, a baby died in my womb, and he still chose to lie that he was VP. And apparently this guy was a forklift driver, and she said there was nothing wrong about the job. All she needed was just someone to come out clear and tell her, girl, this is my job and let's make it work. Because when you meet this man on apps, you cannot verify, you cannot know the truth about this man. And I know the relationships that have worked, but it's by God's grace, because all the legions, all the bad niggas, all these liars are actually on those apps. And so many girls have lost their lives because of that. So girls, we are not going to be the ones to be trapped. We're just going to make sure when you see a red flag, that's when you start to be conscious. That's when you start to be like, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. You kind of like slow down, because these people didn't slow down. 1 month we're living together, just few months in we're pregnant, we're married, and everything is actually doing do, but she just kept going because she needed to be loved. She thought she was great. You don't have to be in that place where you're telling yourself, oh, I'm grown up. Because you're grown up, you want to get married. I've seen people weird. I've seen people get married, but they're walking in that altar, but their minds are not even there. They're literally very far. But it's like an obligation. No, but the thing is, when you enter into marriage, coming out is hard. So she literally was waiting to find a way herself, to find a way out. But she had all the chances, but she didn't. She just went ahead and married this guy. So before you marry someone, let me tell you, take responsibility of yourself. Think about yourself first. Think about yourself first. Because, you know, marriage is not roses. Yo, like you come in, like I said in my other video, I'm going to link it above. If you've not watched it, go and watch that video. I think I don't love my partner anymore. It's about staying in love, being in a relationship. But you can only be and stay in love with a person who actually is loving you back, not a pathological liar. Yo. So I want to end here by telling you, go and watch if you can, or come back next video. We're going to talk about the red flags, because I've already given you guys a summary, because that is long, and I have a scripture that I wanted to share with you guys. I will definitely share it, but don't forget to like, share, and comment below. Let's just comment in this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you guys so much with the love of God. See you. Bye.